Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation we're going to see how we go about creating a virtual install of Server 2019 with the full desktop experience using a VirtualBox. For this demonstration I will be using the latest version of VirtualBox, which is 6.0. But if you're using an older version of a VirtualBox, say 5.2 or whatever version you're using, that's perfectly okay. To begin this installation, we're going to be using the Create a Virtual Machine wizard. To launch it, we're going to go up to Machine and we're going to click on New. That launches the Create Virtual Machine wizard, and now we're going to give our machine a user-friendly name. I've given mine the name of Server 2019 Full Install. I've chosen where I'm going to save the actual virtual machine itself, and I have chosen Microsoft Windows as the type of operating system, and then I've chosen other Windows 64-bit. I'm going to go ahead and click Next. Here I'm going to go up, change the memory size to 2048, click Next. Here we're going to create a virtual hard disk now. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Create button, and we're going to leave it at the default for VDI, and I'm going to click Next. Here we're going to allow for a dynamically allocated hard disk. I'm going to say Next to that. And here we're going to increase this up to 60 gigs. Now we do this just to be on the safe side. And it's not a problem if you're running out of disk space. As long as you use the dynamically allocated feature, the operating system will only use the space if it is required. We're going to go ahead and click on Create. Now to begin this installation, I'm going to have the ISO downloaded. For this demonstration, I downloaded the ISO from the internet, and there's a number of different ways that you can download it, including the Microsoft Evaluation Center. So just go to the internet, use Google, and just type in Server 2019 ISO download, and you'll find a number of different locations that you can download this ISO image from. We're going to go ahead and just double click this to start it. Now once we start the operating system or the virtual hard disk, we have to give it an ISO so that it can install the operating system. I'm going to click on this folder icon here, and from here I'm going to browse on over to the location where I saved that downloaded ISO image for Server 2019. We can now begin the actual installation process. I'm going to go ahead and click on Start. So this installation process is not any different than installing Server 2012 or Server 2016. It is exactly the same GUI, so we're just going to step through it rather quickly. So again, I'm going to accept the defaults. I'm going to click the Next button, and we click on Install Now. As was the case with Server 2012 and Server 2016, we have to determine exactly what version of the operating system we want to install. The full installation is now referred to as the desktop experience, and you have one of two flavors, either the standard or the data center. They're both the same thing. Data center allows you to install a lot more memory and a lot more CPUs. Well, for this demonstration, we can go ahead and use the standard evaluation desktop experience. Now anything else that does not say desktop experience will be server core. So I'm going to go ahead and select Desktop Experience, and I'm going to click Next. Here we need to accept the license agreement. We'll say Next to that. And we're going to click on Custom. We're going to ensure that we have our 60 gig of dynamic drive available, and we're going to just click on Next and continue on with the installation. And as it was with Server 2012 and Server 2016, we go through the process of downloading and installing the files to our disk. Once the installation has completed, this machine will then go on to reboot at least once, probably at least 2 if not 3 times. And if you think it looks a lot like Server 2016 or Windows 10 using the setup wizard or the installation wizard, you are correct. If you get prompted to press a key to continue on with the installation or to boot Windows, do not press any key. All you'll do is begin the installation process all over again. On this screen here, we're being prompted to create our administrator password. Scroll on down, and I'll click Finish. And we're finalizing our settings. The installation has completed very fast. and we can now input our keyboard Control-Alt-Delete sequence, and now it wants my administrator password that we just created. And now we're going to build my profile for the administrator, and we should be up on the desktop in just a moment. So we have the latest version of VirtualBox 6.0, and I'm using the newest server operating system from Microsoft. And now we should be able to see if they can work together to install the guest editions without having any type of input from you or I. Where it wants to allow this machine to be seen by others on the network, I will click No. And now Server Manager is going to start up. And we see that there's now a Windows Admin Center available. And it looks like it's going to work inside of a browser. You can go ahead and close this out. And we're now sitting at the Server Manager dashboard. And it looks pretty much like the other ones that we've had in the past with Server 2012 and Server 2016. Pretty much the same options as far as adding roles and features. We have the tools, pretty much standard stock tools that we get when we install Server 2012, Server 2016, and Server 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Now up inside of File Explorer, we want to see if the guest editions are waiting for us to be installed. And we're going to do that by clicking on this PC. And we see that we have our ISO image, but I don't see the guest editions. So let's give it a little bit of help. To do this, I'm going to go up here to Devices, and I'm going to pull down that context menu, and I'm going to insert guest edition CD image. Now, when I go back over into the File Explorer, I will see that the guest editions are waiting for me to install. So I'm just going to go double click this here real quick. And you'll see that we have a number of options in here, and I'm going to select the VirtualBox Windows Editions for AMD 64, and I'm just going to go ahead and double click this, and that should begin the installation wizard, and it does. Click Next, and just accept all the defaults. Click Next, do an install. Now what is this going to allow me to do? Well, this is going to allow me to go full screen. I'll be able to connect USB devices. Go ahead and accept anything it wants to install. I will be able to accept USB devices that are plugged into my host machine and attach them to this virtual machine. I'll be able to share folders. I'll be able to copy and paste from my host machine into this virtual machine. So it does pay to install the guest editions. I'm going to go ahead and reboot. And when we come back up, it should automatically go to full screen for us. One noticeable difference with Server 2019 and the other previous server operating systems is how fast it boots back up. It comes back up very quickly. So we're going to send that Control-Alt-Delete. I'm going to type in my administrator password. We're now back to the desktop, and you can see the Server Manager has finished loading, and there goes my screen to full size. So now when I go up to Devices, you'll notice that I have the USB option here, and it sees everything that is attached using a USB port on my host machine, and allows me to connect to it. I can also use the shared clipboard. So I can go from guest to host, host to guest, or bidirectional, and I just go ahead and select bidirectional because this is a lab environment. Now for my virtual and lab environment, I'm going to go ahead and have these devices, my Server 2019 devices, or any device, whether it's Server 2016 or Server 2012, I want them to use the host-only adapter. This allows them to be seen quite easily on the network, and they will pull down different IP addresses. So if you have an IP conflict in VirtualBox, what are you going to do? You're going to go up inside of the networking settings for each of your virtual machines, and you're going to configure them to use host-only adapter. Let's see how we do it. I'm going to go up here to Machine, and I'm going to select Settings. Here I'm going to go down to Network. Attached to, I'm going to say host-only adapter. And that's going to allow this machine to use this VirtualBox host-only Ethernet adapter. Now this is going to work on your Apple machine, your Linux, and or your Windows host machines. So it's very important that you understand that if you do get that dreaded IP conflict, or both machines have the same IP address, just go in to the network settings and configure each machine for host-only adapter. Go ahead and say OK to this. So I've closed out my server manager or minimized it. And now I'm going to go to the search option here, and I'm going to bring up the command prompt. I'm going to go ahead and launch this as administrator. And what I want to do now is do an IP config, and I want to see if I got that wonderful 192 private IP address. And I do. I'm now on a network of 192.168.56.101. You want to do this on all your machines. Have them configured for the host-only adapter. And this one's 101. Your next machine should be 102 or 103. And just remember that if you have that dreaded IP conflict, this is how you're going to resolve it. Server 2019 appears to be Windows 10 with some server capability. That's what I get from it. And we're going to go over here and we're going to take a look at the internet properties here, or the adapter properties. We're going to open up network and internet settings, and you'll see we get the same wizard that we have for Windows 10. I can go to Ethernet here, and now I can change adapter options. I can get up inside of the adapter for my Windows machine, and I can right click on it. I can go to properties. Pretty much the same GUI, pretty much the same everything for Windows 10 machine. So Windows 10 is going to be an ideal client for your Server 2019 network. That's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about creating a virtual install of Server 2019 with the full desktop experience using a VirtualBox. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns about any of the information that was covered in this video or the lab file, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.